Oh, magic makers. I'm so excited today because I get the opportunity I love when I get to bring my friends on. And because one, you get to hear, like, I have friends. Two, you get to hear just the conversations that we've had over the years. I've known Andy, God, I mean, I feel like it's probably, I know it's definitely been 10 years, but I feel like it's maybe more like
Like
20.
15 or so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, easily 15 for
Yeah.
sure.
And, we first met backstage at a fitness competition. And, it's just kind of like, I always find it interesting that there's hundreds of girls at these shows. And the people who you just kind of find, like you just gravitate towards, and you kind of say a couple things one show, and then 6 months later you see them again in another show, and then now maybe your stuff's right next to them, and then you start having these random conversations, and then next thing you know, 15 years go by and
It's right.
you're still friends, and you're like,
20
yeah.
trips to Vegas later.
Oh my God. I am I always last year, or the last 2 years because of COVID, I was like, God, I'm like, something feels off. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I didn't go to Vegas this year. I mean, it was the first
We
time.
definitely need a Vegas trip.
Yeah. It's the first time I think since I don't know, 2000 and seven, 6 or 7 that I haven't
Yeah,
gone to Vegas. And I'm
I
like,
know.
I was like, something's missing. I'm like, I haven't gone to Vegas. And I'm like, that's what's missing. Like the week before Thanksgiving, like who doesn't travel the week before Thanksgiving?
Exactly, right? Gamble a little.
Oh my God. Yeah. So,
Stay in a ballroom for 20 hours.
so we're from the East Coast. So we go to Vegas and we literally wake up at 4 a.m. We're like, so what do we
What do you
do?
want to do?
So we're like,
You
well,
want to go do a spin class by the pool?
right. Or sometimes it's like, if it's not a 24-hour gym, we're like, well, I can't go to the gym. And so Andy's like, I got a couple of gambling games. Let's go. And so we're
Let's
like,
go.
we either look like East Coasters or we look like we have problems.
Or both.
Yeah, gambling at 4 a.m. Like that's when you're
Yes.
you're pulling for I think I can get my mortgage back.
I was
So,
never the lucky one. I think Mel and Jen had more luck
yeah,
than I did.
they had really good luck. So I brought Andy on not to talk about our gambling prowess, but to talk about how over the years our workout styles, our food styles, just overall life has just evolved and changed, and how we've had to evolve and adapt our workouts to one, I don't want to fucking do it anymore, to two,
Hold on, sorry. Got a
nope,
call.
I got you. I don't want to fucking do it anymore, to you know what? My life isn't that anymore. It's just evolved and changed. And I wanted to bring Andy on because it's I feel and she has clients who are just like this, who evolved have evolved with us through our journeys. And some of them are still kind of clinging on to that, what worked in 2012. And it's just not going to work anymore now. Our bodies have just changed. And before I even ask Anna a question, I should tell you, she's a smart little whippy. She's beautiful, but she's also smart. She's got a master's degree in exercise science. So it's the stuff that I think we knew the logical answer to, but our emotions were like, shut up, brain. We're doing it anyway.
Yeah, and we had more time to think about it then too. I mean, I started competing when I was 26 and I had no kids. I was a teacher at the time, and I was a health and PE teacher, which I should preface it by that. I didn't have all the things to grade that everybody else does, even
Right.
though I still do my lessons with. So I had a lot of time. So it was nothing for me to make all my meals, put them in a cooler, and take them with me for the day. And it was nothing for me to leave school and spend 2 hours at the gym. I didn't necessarily work out all that time. I was chatting and whatever, but I just had so much more time then.
Right.
When you actually have to really adult, nobody has that time anymore.
Exactly. Or, I think also do I want to make that time? If I looked at my schedule, I probably could create that time. Because I think about when I was had a corporate job and trying to get in these 2 hours, you found these little pockets, but now I'm
Yeah.
like, do I want to find those pockets anymore?
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't know that I even have the desire to do that anymore. You and I were talking how, an hour in the gym is a long time these days.
Yeah. And it's if you would have said to me 10 years ago that that's where I would have evolved my workouts to be, I would have been like, oh, you don't even know. Like it
No.
just, it was such a foreign concept to me. And I feel like it, it evolved over time because I think I just kept getting sick of my own, on my own shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we got smarter. I mean,
Yeah.
we were smart then, but we got way smarter. We worked smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wish I knew back then everything I know now. I thought I knew it all, but
Yeah. And I mean, I guess that's the blessing and the curse about fitness is that it, you know, we you learn like every few years there's a new study that comes out and you're just like,
right.
duh, like, like that's Captain Obvious. But like, of course, in the moment, we get so caught up in the momentum, like that it's like, if I'm sweating harder, if I'm like lifting longer, it's clearly working.
Yeah. And I mean, trends do change, like you said. So way back then, cardio was the thing.
Yeah.
And so, that's how we would get leaner. We would do more cardio. Where today I'm trying not to do cardio. I only do enough to keep my heart healthy and I lift heavier. If I would have put these principles in place back then, who knows what would have happened. But we did follow the trends and stayed up on research, but it changes and we need to evolve with it. So if I were to compete today, I would do it totally different.
Yeah, and even, for your last show, when I coached you, it was literally like, okay, you already have the muscle. So it's like, how do we
Right.
keep what you have, but when we get ready to peak you, how do we start to like manipulate so we can just maximize what you've already have?
We eat pizza the Sunday night before the show.
Yeah, but it's funny because it's like I feel like most people, as you like start to do more and more shows, you have to do crazy shit to get the body. So it is like, the week of
It's a
show,
lot of mental
it's
for
one,
sure too.
it's very mental when you get to that. Like when you've competed for like
Mhm.
at least 3 or 4 years, it's not the physique anymore. It's like keeping yourself
Oh
into the
yeah.
game. But it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
even the weird stuff, like, I remember like I like lived on like Chinese food and burgers just to make sure I could like keep my muscle composition. And it's like people are like, what? And I'm like, yeah, it works. And it's just like once you go, I'm not gonna give you a biochemist lesson, but once you start thinking about biochemistry, like you're like, huh, that could work. I mean, I'm not gonna do it every day. I would love to, but I'm not gonna do it every day.
Right, right.
But
And
for
we worked so hard back then with our training. I look back and I think I was inflamed all the time
yeah,
from all these crazy hard workouts. Now I'm actually in competition shape pretty much year round. Not necessarily. If I wanted to compete, I would need a week maybe.
right.
But it's because I'm not so inflamed all the time. I'm not beating my body to a pulp all the time. But when you're in the moment, it's hard to think that way.
Yeah, because in the moment you're like more, 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 and I think
Yeah.
it's also like we were on like the forefront of diet culture before they even had a name to it, and it was like no pain, no gain. It was like hustle for
Right.
the gains. It was we just
Yep.
bought into that like work ethic, and so
Yeah.
like now if I were to like coach anyone to get ready for a show, I'm like, no, you don't need to be in the gym for 2 hours. Like that's
Right.
just let's figure out your schedule and let's see how we can maximize your time.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I definitely work smarter these days.
And one of the things I also like about you, and I use you as an example all the time for people, is just like we have seasons in our training, and you have a son who he used to play 2 sports, and then you're like, I pick one.
He actually made that choice just this year. He decided to just focus on one. I'm
Right.
not complaining.
Right, but you were like literally like running, running here and there and everywhere with
Yeah.
him with 2 sports. And so I always tell people, her son wasn't just like, a bench warmer. He was an elite athlete. So he was always going invited to a tournament or here and there. And I was like, she has to figure out, what does my workout look like when he's in season? Because you're not sitting around, you're like, you got to take him to practice, or there's a game, or there's something or another that you're taking him to. And so like, how did you like say, okay, how do I adapt my training to, because baseball, when does baseball start for him?
Um, it's pretty much year round, except right now, the months of like November and December, half of October, that's his off season. So other than that, we're going nonstop. But I mean, when he was younger and couldn't drive, that was, I mean, I was always
Crazy.
on the go. He would have a pitching lesson here and physical therapy or whatever it was, and practice and school. And so I either had to get up and go to like a 6 o'clock class, or we have a home gym workout there. Or if he was going to be at a lesson, I would pop my AirPods in and go for a walk when I'm there, just to maximize my time. Because and luckily, I have a job like you where we can do it online.
Right.
And because that was another thing, like how does, and I have one kid, okay, and I work from home. I don't know how people who have to
Yes.
leave the house and go to work and have multiple kids do it. Now, luckily, I can help my friends out, and before our kids could drive, I would drive them around. But I really don't know how people do it.
I'm always in awe of people who have, this like more than full-time job. They have multiple kids and their kids are in like a million different things. And I'm just like,
I know.
God love you. I'm drinking just
Yeah.
looking at your schedule.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But as far as my workouts, I mean, I just had to get them in when I could. And so if I was trying to get 2-hour workouts at that time, that was never happening. But when Nash was little, I would have to utilize the daycare at the gym, or take him with me to do whatever. He spent so many days at, Sunday sessions or routine practice with Aubrey or Sherry and I. And I just had to fit it in when I could. And even now we travel so much for his baseball. And we were just in Florida. I had a kettlebell with me, a TRX strap, a loop band, and a yoga mat. Like, I take it with me because I don't know when I'm actually going to get in a gym.
Right.
I made it work.
Right. And so like, let's talk to old Andi. And old Andi she have had anxiety, like, saw that, looked at, let's just say we're recording this in the month of October, looked at October's schedule, saw all the probably things that, if this was a busy season for you, so all the places you were going or all the games that were on there, and, or practices, and you would be like, shit, like you would have freaked out.
Yeah. I mean, things have, gotten busier. I feel like Nash has gotten older. So the old Andi, I didn't have as many things, but yeah, there was always stress trying to figure out. It was more so the eating.
Yeah.
How was I going to stick to my healthy eating and run all over the place? I ate a lot of protein bars and drank a lot of protein shakes back in the day. And I don't do that so much anymore. I try and eat more fork and knife meals, but I lived on convenience foods back then, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the people listening to this, I know I had freakouts when like my perfect schedule, like got in disarray. I would freak out. And yeah. And I just, I think to myself, like Googling for like gyms and like, taking a cab, like 20 minutes to go to a freaking gym and
yeah,
to go work out.
I'm thankful that like when I do travel, I can hit up an Orange Theory wherever I go, or most hotels these days have a somewhat decent gym.
Yeah, exactly. You can, I always feel like, with a set of dumbbells, you can figure something out.
Yeah, for sure.
Something, it's not gonna, and I think what most people have to get, like, kind of separate themselves from, it's not going to be like what you have at home, but something's better than nothing.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Even, even if you can just crush like a 20-minute workout, you're like, it's 20 minutes more of like the mental gymnastics you would play all day about like why you didn't do it and what a horrible person you are because you didn't get it done.
I've been fortunate too, with all these baseball trips. A lot of the other moms are like, did you bring your stuff? Are you going to work out? So I hold like little Camp Wagner boot camps everywhere we travel, which has been really fun.
Yeah, and I mean, I find it's nice when like other people are into fitness because then you don't feel like the weird girl where you're
The
like,
freak. Yeah.
yeah, where it's like everyone's like, oh, we're going to breakfast, and you're like, I was hoping to squeeze in a workout before the game started,
Right.
and
Right.
people don't look at you like, oh, a workout. You're that girl.
Yeah, no, nobody, they so, some people make fun of me, but that rolls off my shoulder. It doesn't bother me, but I love
Right.
when people join me. So
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like when they start to see that you're like regularly doing it, but you also live a regular life. Like you're no longer bringing your freaking cooler with you and
right,
praying for
right,
a fridge in the room.
right. Exactly.
You're
Exactly.
like
Yeah,
this.
it's definitely evolved for sure. But like I said, I'm working smarter and just with everything. Like I used to think, it was so hard to go out to eat and eat
Yeah.
healthy. It's not. You just need to know what to order.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. And then, but then there's also times when you like look at the menu and you see something and you're like, you know what? They don't make this in Indiana, so I'm gonna
right.
have it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, every week I allow myself at least 2 meals of whatever I want. So
Yeah,
that just
exactly.
mentally, it keeps me, I have something to look forward to. I love food. I freaking love food. You know that we've gone out to eat a
Yeah,
million times. I love food. So I don't want to miss out on those yummy things that I can't always get.
right.
So I work it in. I work it in.
And it's funny because it's like, we used to go pretty much the entire country we've gone to, but it's like, our Vegas trips, like we were like, okay, we're gonna go here and we're gonna go to this restaurant because we like this particular thing. And it's like,
Olives.
yeah, we're going to Olives and we're gonna get this particular thing. And it's primarily because it's like we don't have one in our state.
Right,
Well,
right,
I used to have one in Massachusetts, but we don't have it anymore. But we don't have one in my state anymore. So there's a certain dish that I like, and I'm going to get it there. Bottom line,
right.
the end, no guilt, no shame. That's just like it is what it is. So as we're talking, it's like so many people like I can't have. And as soon as you tell me I can't have something, it could be a damn apple. I want an apple.
Exactly.
And I remember it was like one of my last shows, and I was at Marshall's buying God knows what. And this woman was eating an apple. And I was like, I could take her. I could take her right now.
I
Cause
want that apple so
I
bad.
right. Cause it's like as soon as you say no, it's when you see everyone having whatever it is you can't
Yep,
have.
yep.
And you are just like, it's just ringing your doorbell, being like, come on, be happy. But if you say to yourself, or even once a day, like my cup of coffee with cream and sugar. Like some people are like, oh, you don't use nut milk. No, I like fucking half and half. Like it's my
Right,
joy. It is
right,
my one
exactly.
joy every single day.
And it's
And
not gonna make you or break you.
right, I'm
Having
like
that.
those 30 calories. I'm like, I can find another way to save 30 calories.
Exactly. I'm with you. Totally with you.
So, as you kind of like moved into this phase of life, it's like, is there one thing that you kind of say to yourself, like, this is the one thing that I'm always going to make sure that's in kind of like my, like, I like to call them like non-negotiables. Like here are like, some of the things that I'm like, I know that like, it's just what I need to do, one mentally, but just also just makes me feel like, you know what, I'm keeping the ball moving forward.
Yeah. Well, so workouts, I have at least 5 a week. I take 2 days off. I think rest days are just as important as the workout days. That was something that was really hard for me
Yeah.
to grasp back in the day, 25 years ago. I just like anything else, we thought more is better, and the rest days for me are just as important. So I
Mm,
take those. I enjoy them. I go for a walk. I'm still active that day, but I'm not
right.
lifting weights or doing an organized workout.
Right.
So that's that with my workouts. And in those 5 days, I try and lift heavy weights, heavier than I ever did, which is weird.
Yeah.
And I do a little bit of cardio just to, like I said, for my heart health, or if I go to an Orange Theory class, or Spenga. We have a place here called Spenga. It's 20 minutes of spin, 20 minutes of weights, 20 minutes of yoga. I love that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I go there once a week. But other than that, I'm just lifting heavy, and I would like to do more yoga.
I know. I need more of that in my life
I
too.
know. all I get right now is when I go to that one class a week, and I definitely need more for sure. But with my nutrition, I mean, I make sure I get my protein every day. I'm getting protein with every meal. And then I'm having those 2 off-plan meals every week. And it's never less than 2. Once in a while, it might be 3. I mean,
Right.
but it just gives me something to look forward to because I really do love to eat.
Right.
And third thing, I will always advocate for myself when it comes to my health and like doctors. I had an incident a few
Yes.
years ago where I was seeing an endocrinologist and telling her how I felt, and she just wouldn't listen. And I just kept pushing and moved to different doctors and saw a functional medicine specialist and really advocated for myself
Yes.
and found some weird stuff that was going on that I would have had no idea if I hadn't done that. So I tell all my clients, you know, if there's something that feels off and you have a doctor telling you you're fine, bullshit. Go talk to a new doctor because you know your body better than anyone, and you need to advocate for yourself. So I will never stop doing that. If something feels off and somebody tells me you're that age, things happen, or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a non-negotiable for me. I will always advocate for myself when it comes to that, or my kids or my husband, anybody.
Right. And it's so, you know, you said a lot of things. So I want to unpack first the being your own advocate. I am just very like that happened to me. Like I was, you know, putting on weight and I was like, I can't be doing what I'm doing and gaining weight. Like there's something off. Like the math is not working.
Yeah.
And, you know, my doctor was like, oh, Kim, you know, you're not 35 anymore. And I was like, you know, I was like, okay, if I get arrested today, I don't know if my husband's gonna bail me out. I'm like, he probably won't. And so I just like smiled at her and I left. And I went to go find my own answers. And she's still my general practitioner, but I was like, you're just gonna make sure that I'm alive. Like that's the only thing I use for you.
Right.
And I came back and I was like 25 pounds lighter. And she goes, oh, what'd you do? And I was like, I saw a functional doctor who helped me like organize other things that were going on with me. And she's like,
yeah.
Oh, like it's like there was a problem.
Right. They're just not willing to investigate or do the tests that they should do, or even talk to you.
Yeah, and
I was shocked the first time I went to a functional medicine doctor, how long she sat there and talked to me.
Oh,
I was like, oh my gosh, it just blew my mind. And
my appointment, like my first appointment was like 90 minutes. I was like,
yeah, I know, me too.
And I was sitting and I was like, I mean, and I walked into her and she's like, ooh, she's like, you're fucked up. And I almost cried, not because she said that to me, but because I was like, she sees it. Like,
yeah, she admits it. Right.
so I just was like, I was like, oh my God, she's my girl. Like she is my girl. And I'm like, I'm like, she just brought so much to me. And I'm just grateful that I just was like, I need someone like you. And like you said, like, you're like, I know my body so well. And I'm like,
right.
There's just something is just not lining up here.
And they make you feel crazy.
They do.
They make you feel crazy. And I knew I wasn't crazy. I
knew I wasn't crazy.
And it made me feel like a fraud in my profession because, like you said, I was doing everything and I know what to do.
Right. And
it's not like I'm saying I'm doing it and I'm not. Like I'm really doing it. I really know what to do. And it's still not working.
Yeah. And so it made me crazy. And so, you know, I remember when after I finally like we started to figure out everything that was going on, you know, at the time she was like, Kim, she's like, you have to tell other people about this because it's like, you're not the only woman. And I was like, well, I can't, for me, I was like, I need to go through it myself in order for me to start to be able to like talk about it. But I'm like, I am a big fan of like, if your GP is not giving you what you need, find someone else. Tell them like, you are not giving me what you need, because sometimes they get into like the routine. Like they are like, I'm supposed to see you for X number of minutes.
Right.
And if I can't,
but most of those doctors have never had any training on nutrition or exercise, or like it blows my mind. But like my doctor's advice was, why don't you try and eat 500 less calories a day?
Yeah, I had
like,
that.
if I do that, my body will shut down. I'm like, no.
Right. I did that. Like, it was Kim, you know, you should stop eating sandwiches. She never even asked me when I fucking eat. I don't eat sandwiches. Like, I was like, you never asked, you never said, well,
Right.
what are you normally having? Like, that's like in my head, I'm like, that's the first question you asked me. And if I came back to you and I told you I was eating like sandwiches and ho-hos and like muffins, hey Kim, take away the muffins. Okay. But I'm like, I wasn't eating that way. So I'm like,
Yeah.
how? So it just, you know, and even if you love your GP, like I loved her because she's not the person who would write me a prescription. You know, I've heard people who like complain about certain things and they'll write you a
Right.
prescription for Xanax, or they'll write you a prescription for whatever. My lady was like, when I was stressed out, she wrote me a prescription for yoga. Like
That's awesome.
that is the
That's
only
awesome.
reason why I stuck with her, because like she is not the write you a prescription person. That's why I stuck
Yeah.
with her as a doctor, because I don't need you to medicate me away. Like I need you,
Right.
like, and it was her who told me I need to just chill the fuck out. Like that was a prescription for me, and many of you need that same prescription. Chill the fuck out. Like
Yes. Yes.
but the other thing you said was that protein with every meal, and I
Yes.
think that, you know, we've taken that from fitness competitions. Like protein was like, you know, like God,
Right.
you know, but I feel that still, I feel like God, I'm like, why am I still talking about this?
I know. You know, I'm not crazy and fanatical like I used to be with like weighing and measuring it all, but
Right.
I still have some type of protein in every meal. I mean, as we get older, we're losing bone mass, muscle mass, and I want to prolong it as long as possible.
God, yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
actually, I mean, I'm 50, but I'm still trying to gain muscle. Like I would love to have a bigger butt.
You have a
So
great butt. You always had a great
it's so
butt.
flat though. I want it to be bigger. I want my shoulders to be rounder, you know. So I'm still trying to bust the myth and gain muscle mass at 50.
Yeah.
So I'm still getting my
Agreed.
protein.
I know. I miss my competition shoulders. I do miss them.
Mine
You know,
are actually bigger now than they were when I competed.
yeah,
But it's a work in progress.
yeah. And it's funny because it's like I'm not the obsessive about my weighing and measuring as I used to be, but I'm always mindful of, did I have protein in that meal, or like is
Yep.
there a protein option that I can add to that?
Yeah.
Now, with that
Yep.
said, and you know, you and I have had this back and forth conversation for decades. Vegan, is it possible as a vegan, and this is totally unscripted, and you know, you and I don't have the same, you know, person anymore. Um, what do you think? You know, I'll tell you my opinion, and then that way you don't feel like you have to like
No,
straddle.
okay. I have a good opinion too. Okay, go ahead.
My opinion is you have to have a very certain body structure, metabolism in order to pull off being a vegan and putting on muscle. That's I feel like you have to have like your metabolism has to be
You're
like
a genetic freak if you can do that.
your metabolism has to be dead on balls going in order for you to be a vegan, lose weight, and gain muscle. That's my opinion, because every vegan I've ever worked with is fluffy.
Yes. So my thing that I talk when people say, okay, I want a nutrition plan, I'm a vegan. Why? Give me your reason.
Yep.
Okay. If it's a valid reason,
yes,
I'll be like, but if it's because that's on trend and I heard that vegans are really healthy and that's what I want to do. I heard that Jennifer Aniston, whoever is vegan, and I like the way she looks and I would do that. Then I'm like, no, I'm calling bullshit on that.
Yeah, agreed.
I think that I see so many people who say they're vegan who appear to be incredibly unhealthy.
Yes.
So if you are somebody who's looking to like bodybuilding or whatever, you're going to have a really, really hard time building any kind of muscle mass on a vegan diet. If, you just want to be thin, I guess it would work. But it's just so hard to get enough protein in your diet from plants.
Yeah, agreed.
Now, actually, Aubrey told me this. Our friend Aubrey Work, I do a lot of work with her, and she was telling me about this study that looked at gorillas,
Oh
and
yeah.
they're vegan and they only eat like leaves or whatever. I forget what food it was, but they're like 14% body fat.
Yes, I've heard
But
that
the
same
amount
study.
of that vegetable that you have to eat is so big.
It's so funny because that's what kind of, I can't remember who did the study, but I just recently heard that same study in the last month, and I was like, well, one, I was like, I didn't realize they were 100% vegan, and two, I was like, I also feel like it is their makeup. Like there's something in their
Yeah,
makeup that they're able to have that pound for pound
right.
muscle that we as humans just, I don't think we can do it. I know they're genetically like two away from us, but I'm like, I'm trying to think of like maybe as a man I could do it, but as a woman, I think we're
Yeah.
hard pressed to do it.
I mean, I remember back in the day when we would get new clients who wanted to do like figure, and
Yeah.
they're like, but I'm not going to eat any meat. Like,
Good luck to you.
okay, will you do, like, we would bargain, like, will you do eggs? Will you do
Yes.
fish? Just trying to get something in there. So yeah, it's incredibly challenging if muscle, gains are your goal. It's so hard.
Yeah, it's and I agree with you as well. It's like if you come to me with an ethical reason why, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to wrestle you to the ground
Right.
on that. But if
Right.
you come to me and you say because, I hear it's healthier or here, and I'm like, for who?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's my comeback to you because like I feel like there has to be some just some a little meat, like it could be fish, it could be eggs, dairy, something that gives you a little extra of those aminos that you're just not going to get from a plant.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I know there's all kinds of plant-based protein powders out there now, but I mean, you can't just live on protein powder.
Right. And so, I'd rather you say I want to be plant-ish, and that way,
Yeah,
we
I
can
like that.
we
Mhm.
can take away, one meat-based meal and replace it with a protein powder or replace it with, beans or anything like that. But it's
Yeah.
like having 3 to 4 meals a day, I don't is just a challenge to get you to get even 20 grams of protein out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I'm with
so,
you.
and with that said, for those people who are like, well, I have Impossible Burger or the other freaking thing. Impossible Burger and Beyond Burger. And for me, it's like they've just pretty much cleaned up Morningstar. Like Morningstar was just
Right.
complete shit like in a
Yeah.
package. Beyond Burger, Impossible Burger, from time to time, sure, rock on with your bad self, but it's not a
It's
it's
still a processed food.
right.
It's not a whole complete protein. Yeah, like you said, if you're having other meals that have real protein meat in them and you have one with that, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But to just rely on that all the time,
It's
you just can't get enough.
yeah, you just gonna get protein. And one of the people that I follow regularly, and she's a huge advocate on protein, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, huge advocate of protein, and she like researched up the wazoo about the difference between animal and plant-based protein. So if you are someone who wants to just geek out, she's your girl to
Okay.
actually geek out with. But I also like how you talked about the off-plan meal. I'd like to talk about the off-plan meal, and it's the city of Cambridge is calling me, probably telling me that it's like street cleaning tomorrow.
Oh,
uh,
move your
uh,
car, Kim.
I I did that for 15 years, and so I'm grateful that I have a off-street parking because
Nice.
I don't miss shoveling out my fucking car after the plow comes by.
Yes. I remember those days in college. Yeah.
Oh,
I always got street cleaning tickets, and then it would take me forever to plow my car out or shovel it out.
this is a quick aside, but I think you guys will find this funny. Do you remember Heather Foley? She was like an
Yes,
old,
I do.
oh yeah. So Heather Foley, shout out. She's freaking hysterical. You can follow her. She's Cotton Southie on Instagram. And the year we had 100 inches of snow, she would take a picture every snowstorm. She's like, I'm not fucking digging it out. And like every snowstorm, her car just got like covered and covered and covered and covered. And she's like, I am not digging it out. She didn't use her car from, I think we started getting snow like in January through like April.
Oh my gosh.
And like every snowstorm, she took a picture of her car and like how it just got buried and buried and buried. And then eventually Mother Nature started to like melt it back down.
Okay, I remember, so I lived in Pittsburgh and we got a lot of snow in Pennsylvania, but I remember coming to Boston in January.
Yeah.
And the piles of snow were so big. Oh my gosh, that's no joke. I'm sure her car was completely buried.
Right. She lived in the city, like on a narrow street. So like, it's like the snow has no place to go, but on your car.
Oh my gosh.
And she just
wonder that poor little car
didn't took collapse. A picture and like it just like kept buried. It was hysterical because it's like everyone's like, when you live in Boston, like, yeah, I get it. Like I don't want to fucking dig out my car either. But the other thing you said that I really liked is that you are like in your week, you have an off plan. You have 2 off plan meals. And let's just be honest, at this age, we don't have those spontaneous things happen too often. No one's
not as much. Not as much.
They do happen. And if you have that life, rock on with your bad self. But for the most part, on Thursday you're doing this, on Sunday you're doing that. And we pretty much know our days that we're going. So we're like, hey, I'm going out for drinks with the girls on Thursday. Like, that's my day.
Yep.
Or, hey, I'm, Chad and I are having date night. That's my day. And so that's where we figure it out. And so like when you have these off-plan meals, you just said it's a meal. It is not like lose your shit day.
Right.
It is an off-plan meal.
I eat pretty much normal the rest of the day. I might take a couple snacks out, but I will still have my other clean meals. But whatever meal, if we're going out for breakfast, I enjoy my breakfast and then the rest of the day is clean. It's usually Friday night and Sunday night are usually my off-plan meals. So the rest of the day is just normal.
Right.
It's just my normal day. Like I may not snack that day, but I still have my other meals, but I still do my workouts. Everything else is normal. It's just those meals. I have what I want. I try not to ever get that stuffed feeling.
Yes.
And then I move on. The meal's over. I'm done with it. And I don't feel guilty ever. Never feel guilty about it. I enjoy every single bite and move on. Yeah.
And I like that because it's like I feel like some people would say, okay, I know I'm going out for dinner on Sunday and I know I'm just gonna have so much food, so I'm just gonna have breakfast or I'm just gonna have lunch or make these,
or I'm not gonna eat at all until I get there.
Exactly. Make these all like these big adjustments to it. But the other thing with the question I have for you is, so if I am at an event, like, so I'm sure they're like ad nauseum events for baseball, so it's like banquets or just end of season or preseason get-togethers or whatever. How do you navigate those types of events? Do you add it to your off plan, or you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna go here and I might have a couple bites of this or whatever?
Yeah, it depends. I try to really stick to my 2 a week. So if I know my week's coming up and we have the baseball banquet coming up and then dinner with friends, well, those are my 2 times.
Gotcha.
Okay. But say there's like 4 things in one week and I don't want to have 4 off-plan meals.
Right.
If I'm going to a restaurant, I'll try and keep it like protein and veggie, but I still order off the menu and have everything everybody else does. Or I'll have, if say it comes with rice, I have just a little bit of rice. I don't need, every restaurant gives you like 4 servings of rice.
Right. Exactly. Like rice.
I have my little serving. So it's not like I'm not going or I'm getting something weird. I'm still ordering, what everybody else orders. I just eat a smaller portion or just eat a lot of places I will order protein. And then if it comes with like a protein, a vegetable and a starch, I'll get double vegetables instead of the starch.
Right.
And that's not weird. And nobody even realizes that I do it.
Right.
But, or say it's something where I know there's not going to be any healthy options there. And I don't want to really use that as my off plan. I'll eat before I go.
Yeah.
So, it's all a case by case basis, but I don't miss any events. I never skip anything where I think when people back in the day we were competing, there were some things that we skipped out on because we didn't want to be around it. Yeah. I never skip out on anything anymore. And I mean, at the end of the day, if I have 3 off-plan meals instead of 2, it's not the end of the world.
Right. You're like, you know what? No one's gonna die
Right. Right.
if I have that. No, and I like that because it's like now the just like the healthier approach to like this is just life, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to live it to my best ability.
Yeah. The more healthy choices I can make as opposed to unhealthy, the better off I'm going to be.
Right.
So,
Yeah, no, and I like that. And so, the other thing is that, we grew up with the 5 meals a day, stoke your metabolism. If you don't have 5 meals a day,
yeah,
you're just gonna die. Now, as you kind of reach, Andy 2.0, are you still having 5 meals a day, or how many meals a day are you having?
I do 3 or 4, just depends on the day and how early I get up.
Yeah,
um,
true.
but it's usually definitely 3, some days 4.
Yeah,
So, and not big meals. I mean, if it's a day where it's 4, it's probably 2 big meals or 2 regular size meals and 2 snacks.
yeah,
But it's not, I can't even, I mean, there were the days where I was eating 6 times a day.
yep,
I just can't. Well, one thing that has changed, working at home, sitting at a desk all day, I'm not as active. Even
yeah,
if I put an hour in at the gym every day, some days it might be 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I've gone to Orange Theory, but I'm sitting at my desk the rest of the day and I look at my watch and I only have like 6,000 steps.
yeah,
I'm like, oh man, I'm just not as active. I'm not burning as many calories. I don't need to eat as many calories.
all right,
If
exactly,
I was still eating those 6 meals a day, I would be gaining weight.
exactly,
So
yeah.
yeah, my activity level is just not as high as it was when I was working in a gym, or teaching or running around with a little kid.
Yeah, exactly. I think about like some of my moms, they would show me that they had like 20, 30,000 steps in a day. And I even before COVID and I was teaching more regularly, I like, I didn't realize how much I moved because it was just
Yeah,
what I did. And then when COVID hit, I was like, wait, I only walked 5,000 steps today. Huh.
I know.
Like, I'm like, that's still a lot from being in my house. But I was like, gosh, I'm like, that's like a fraction of what I used to do.
Right. This happened to me last night. It was 8 o'clock at night and I looked and I only had 8,000 steps. And the 10,000 step thing is, some people say it's a myth. It's whatever. I don't know. I like to do it. So
Yeah,
I'd like to get 15,000 a day. Some days I get less. At 8 o'clock last night, I only had 8,000. So I jumped up and I walked around my house until I hit 10,000. And Chad's like, you're crazy. And I'm like, it just makes me feel better about my day. So leave me alone.
right. And you're like, Chad, we're married 20 years. This isn't the craziest thing you've seen me do.
Right.
So like, you should just like look up and just be like, let's go on about your night.
Oh man.
Well, I do know where the 10,000 steps came from.
Okay. Enlighten me.
So for everybody, sometimes I got to do research. I can't help myself. So back when they had the Tokyo Olympics, I think it was in the 60s or 70s, they had the Tokyo Olympics, and they were trying to get all the Japanese citizens excited about the games. So they came up with this 10,000 steps, like as a way to get everybody active. And it was just that they just arbitrary number, 10,000 steps. Picked a number, gave everyone pedometers, and they walked around and they said, can you hit 10,000 steps? So there's no real, I think it's just, I don't know what it equates to in like meters, but I think it was just like a nice round number.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I tell people, I'm like, it's just a nice round number. It shows you that you're active. Like that's it. Like,
Let's
so
just say if you can hit 10,000, you've been pretty active for the day. I think that's
yeah.
great.
And I was like, I would tell you like break it into increments. So it's like if you're doing 3,000, if you got another 2,000 and then another 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, like don't go from like 3,000 to 10,000. Like that's like climbing Everest for a lot of
Right.
people. But if you can like add easily like 50, 500 more steps. And when the Fitbit first came out, at my husband's company, they're a client. And so they bought everyone a Fitbit and they had this big challenge. And it was like pouring rain. And my husband didn't have 10,000 steps. I think he had like 8,000. Literally puts on his raincoat, goes outside. And he's like, I'm going to like walk around the block until I hit 10,000 steps. And I was just like, interesting. I'm like, I'm crazy, but it was raining. I'm like, if it wasn't raining out, I wouldn't have thought it was weird. But I'm like, it was raining out. Put on his raincoat, walked outside to get his 10,000 steps, and I was just like, okay.
their mission was accomplished.
Yeah, and it was like, and every spring, I want to say, like, when they were startup, every spring they always did like a spring challenge for, like, as a company, like, and it was always something that anyone could do. So it wasn't like, we're gonna run a marathon. It was like,
Yeah.
we're gonna do 10,000 steps. I helped them a bunch of times, like, come up with the challenge. So like one challenge, I made them do protein. We did a fiber challenge. So it was like easy things that like they could incorporate into the office. So like they started bringing in more for snacks. They started bringing in like more like yogurt and cheese so that people could have like
Good.
more protein in their diet. But yeah, it's just interesting, like, that if you give, I like mini goals. Like, and so that's why I asked you about your like daily stuff. It's like, what are the things I can do regularly that even though I might not see the change like tonight, it just makes me mentally feel like, you know what? I checked a box today that like
Yep.
I did something for my health.
Yep. My hardest one still to this day is getting enough water. I still struggle with water,
It's
but
fun. I purposely bought red so that I used to have a clear one, and like clear for me, it just used to kind of like blend into the background. So I purposely bought a color so that like it sticks. Like my office is
it stands
purple.
out.
It stands
Yeah.
out in every place I put it. It stands out. But I'm gonna take a sip right now.
I do okay, but then like I'll realize at 8 o'clock at night I haven't had enough, and I'm like, well, I can't drink it now because I'm gonna be up
Right.
all night.
I know and it's funny because I used to have these like markers in my day of like where to have water. And I used to always teach at noon, and I'd always be like, by noon, I have to have two so that I could have my third one at noon. So that way I wasn't peeing all night. And
Yeah.
I don't have those. So I've been trying to find my like benchmarks in my day to like say how many glasses of water have you had today. So
Yes.
I struggle with that as well. But I gotta find the Spenga. Like, this sounds
Oh my gosh,
fantastic.
it's my favorite. They don't have, I mean, it's a franchise. It's like an
Yeah.
Orange Theory or whatever, but there just aren't as many. But
Yeah.
it's my favorite. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I used to have this great yoga class, and they sold. And so like, over the last couple of years, they just got like instructors. So
Yeah. I do some Peloton yoga.
do you like it?
Uh, I do. Dennis Morton, he is one of the spin instructors, but he also does yoga, and he's easy on the eyes too. So
I mean, that for me, I'm
I
like,
have to do yoga.
there used to be this guy Malenik here in Boston, and he was just like the voice. Like, he had this just like, you could like put him on like those kind of like white noise machines. Like, he had like
Uh-huh.
that kind
Oh
of
yeah.
like soothing, calm voice. And I was just like, he just disappeared. Like, he was teaching for like years and just
Huh.
like disappeared. I don't know if he went to Tibet to sit on a mountain or what, but he is just no longer here. So, Andi, if someone's like, you know what, Andi sounds pretty awesome, because she is. Um,
Oh.
where can people find you on the interwebs?
So I'm on Instagram. It's Andi_best_you_crew. In Facebook, Andi Martin Wagner. I have been working with Aubrey Warwick. You and I both worked with Aubrey forever. Her and I do online challenges. We just wrapped up a 6-week challenge. We'll have another 3-week one coming up. We have a holiday one coming up. And those are so fun for us, just because we reconnected. I mean, we've been working together through isogenics for several years, but this is the first, we started working together about a year ago, doing stuff for anybody. You didn't have to order any products or anything. We just offered it to anyone, and we've been having so much fun with that. So I will be doing some more coming up in 2023. I'm starting a YouTube channel. With Chad is a big YouTube guy. Him and Nash, they don't even watch TV. They just watch YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
So he's helping me out with that. And I have a barn out back. I can see it from here. And I have what's called Camp Wagner. So a lot of the local ladies come and take my classes. We just have a ton of fun. So I'm kind of everywhere. I'm all spread out.
Good. I know the YouTube, it's funny because I just recently started doing more stuff on YouTube, and I laugh because like I think I'm more of a visual person than a writing person, because if you follow me, you know I got grammar problems.
We need proofreaders. I'm the same way.
I'm like, because like my thoughts come out way faster
Yes,
than I
exactly.
can
I type
type.
faster than my brain. Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I read it, I clearly suck at reading. So there's that. But I mean, you get the point. Like,
Yes, everybody, they understand what you're saying. Exactly. Well, okay, so I grew up in a very, very tiny, small town in Pennsylvania. And when I graduated from high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do, right? I kind of went to college undecided. And looking back, I know exactly what I should have done.
Oh God, yeah.
I wish I would have majored in broadcast journalism because I want to be on the news, right? So, but where I grew up, it was such a small, tiny area that we didn't even have the news.
No one was on the news. Like no one was on.
And nobody I knew was, I mean, now like Nash's best friend is on the news, or his parents. But where I grew up, like the people that were on the news were like
you were in a wife
famous
beater,
celebrities somewhere in some other city.
Or you were in a wife beater and you're like, oh my gosh.
So anyway, I feel like I missed my calling. And I mean, I did a lot of hosting fitness shows.
Right.
And I did a lot of writing. For a year, I had an article in Strong Magazine. I've written several ebooks, tons of articles, but I never put it all together and was a news girl. So I feel like this YouTube channel is my comeback story.
Yeah, no, you're right. I look back and like, you know, hindsight being 2020, I remember one of my teachers, Mr. Somberg, he was like, you know, you should be an actress. He's like, he goes, because I would come up with some elaborate reasons why I didn't do my homework. And he's like, you should be an actress. And I was like, who was an actress? Like, you know, like in high school, like, I'm not a theater geek. Like, no.
Right. Drama club.
I'm one of the cool kids. And so I was like, never thought about that. And then the other teacher, Mr. Shibi, was like, you should be a lawyer. He's like, he's like, I can just, you know, just drill it down and
good
ask
negotiating skills.
Negotiating, just asking you a million questions, things that you're just like, fuck, she's calling me on my shit. So it's like, okay, so I'm like, can I take both of those and combine it into something? And I was like, yeah, podcast. I like asking questions.
There you go. Perfect. You were meant to do it.
Yeah. So, and then, you know, of course, like as you talk to people, they're like, you're already on the camera. Why don't you make it into a YouTube? I'm like, oh, okay.
Good idea.
Good idea. And they're like, now you've done it, make something else with your YouTubes. I was like, thanks for the push up the hill.
Yes. I know there's so much out there that we should be doing that I just need a little nudge to get it going. So
yeah. And I always tell people, I was like, we stood around with 2 inches of fabric on our ass. Like, what else can't we do?
Right. Exactly.
Most people are like, you were out there in your underwear, sometimes literally underwear was my costume.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now I'm like, most of the time I'm like, I'm more clothed than most people are used to seeing me in.
For sure. Yeah. I don't know. Some of the things we wore, those bikinis were teeny tiny.
Well, nowadays I'm like, I'm seeing the girls who like, you know, I think this is like the 4th or 5th generation after what we started, like their bikinis are straight up thongs.
They really are. Yeah. And it says in the rules, no thongs, but.
And I was like, is there anyone with like a ruler that was like, your bikini must be like, you know, 5 inches across your ass? Like, because.
Yes, there should be that. Like the shorts rule in school, your fingertips or whatever it is.
Yeah. But I was like.
They don't follow that one either.
I think the last show we went to in Miami, we're like, is everyone wearing a thong? Yeah. It was like totally. A bedazzled thong.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm like, yeah, I can't be in that game anymore.
No. I think it would be fun to go back to Fitness America for like a reunion type thing. But I mean, I'm not even getting on stage in a swimsuit or anything, but maybe to do like the opening number.
Yeah.
In a full length tank top and leggings.
Capri pants. Yeah.
I don't know that that's good for TV, but it would be fun.
Yeah, it would be like, you know, because I mean, I think he's been like 25 years or something like this. It would be like over the years, like bringing back like your, like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to talk to Lou about this.
Yeah.
I have ideas.
Yeah. But then, Lou, he'd be like, I'm just going to sit around and I'm going to yell at you. You're going to do it.
He would say, sure, you want to do it? You organize it.
You organize it. I'm just going to sit around and yell at you for not doing it the way I wanted it to be done.
Yeah. Oh, as many headaches as Lou gave us. I love him.
I know he was, gave us plenty of memories, that gentleman. Yes, all right, ladies, I have one question I always ask everyone before I end the show. What is one thing that makes you feel magical?
Well, I have some like things and people around me that make me feel magical. I have 3 dogs. They're all sleeping right now. My son, when he gives me a hug, makes me feel magical. My husband, same thing. But I feel magical when my clients and the people that I'm working with have success and tell me that I made a difference in their life.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got some goosebumps.
And but that's one of the things that makes me feel magical. But I love it when it's like something like random, like some random thing you said that you don't even remember saying.
Yeah.
That they've just like held on to it and that's become their mantra. That is just like.
Yeah, we have a lot more power than we ever realized with the gift that we're able to give people, and nothing makes me feel better.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love that. And I don't have animals, but I do feel magical around other people's animals, because I don't have to take care of them.
Yeah, you would like mine.
I can just wind them up. I can wind them up and send them back home. And I love how you said, like, when my son hugs me, her son is like, he's like 6'20" now, like he's like 7 feet tall. Like how
he's like 6'5" ish, maybe a little taller, 210. He's a big dude.
This kid came out of the womb, I think he was like 4 feet tall. Like
he was so long. He was 21 inches long, which for babies, that's pretty long.
He's like, he was always like, you see school pictures, it's like everyone's like roughly the same height, and then like Nash was like easily 2 feet above everyone. I don't think anyone caught him until like high school.
Yeah. There's only about 2 or 3 kids in the school that are as tall as him, maybe a little bit taller. So.
And it's like, I mean, it's like he's huge, but like athletic as it can be. Like that is just like the combination that like everyone like wants. Like he's not tall and like awkward. He's not a giraffe at all.
Yeah. And he's the perfect storm because he grew up with me having a gym in our house. So like from the day he was born, he saw us exercising. So it was just something that came really natural for him. So I mean, growing up, him being that tall, he was awkward. I mean, he would run like a baby giraffe. He was very awkward. But once he hit puberty and coordination started coming together, he skyrocketed because he already had that foundation. Yeah. So I'm taking some credit for that one.
No, and I love like when I remember when I would like do check-ins and I would think about like when people had their kids in the picture, and I'm like, I'd love to see like, parents, like, this is how I'm taking care of my health, so that kids, it's not something like, we had to like come to it where they are just like, they grew up watching and seeing.
Yeah, and it's not like I was planning it out saying, I'm going to make him this super athlete. It was just a byproduct of me living a healthy lifestyle that it happened. And then he happened to like sports, and he happened to just roll into it a lot easier maybe than other kids who weren't exposed to that on a daily basis.
Right. So. And maybe he fell in love with the piano, but like, being healthy probably helps you be a better piano player too.
Yeah. And I mean, I wish I could play the piano. I can't, but you're right. If he would have grown up with me sitting there playing the piano every day, that would have come more natural to him as well. We are not very musical, us Wagners. Just, I don't know what happened.
No.
I love music. I wish I could sing. That's the one thing I really wish I could do.
In my head, I am like, Whitney reincarnated, but I am not.
I know, me either. So I need to stay away from karaoke bars if I've had more than a drink.
Oh my God. I went on vacation last year, and the captain of our boat was like Mr. Karaoke. You close his eyes, you think you're listening to Shaggy.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
He was there for like 2 to 3 hours, and there was like nobody there. So he was just like, I'll do another one and another one.
Oh, I love those people. Yeah, I just can't do it.
Yeah, I can't do it either.
Nobody wants me to do it, believe me.
No, I was like, I'm like a cat drowning. Like no one needs that in their life.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, ladies, make sure you follow Andi. She's just like so much fun. Like she shows her whole life, her family, all the things that she's doing. And if you are in Indianapolis, swing by her barn. I think I'm gonna have to get on a plane. I'll grab Mel, get on her plane,
Yeah,
and we'll come out to a Camp Wagner.
for sure. I would love for you to come do that.
Yeah, I gotta get Melly at our house. She's like a fucking hermit.
Yeah, I think you and Mel should take a road trip, come out here. We can have a Camp Wagner. We can do some shopping. There's a casino around here somewhere.
I'm sure that casino is like filled with smoke and people pulling their social security check. It's not a Vegas casino.
All right. Well, maybe we just need to go to Vegas. I think that solves it all.
I think I might be able to get her on a plane to Vegas.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Kim. This has been awesome.
Thank you so much for being on the show.